Let me bring this up. So now I am recording, Esther, and I'm going to give you
Okay.
this recording. Okay.
All right.
I'd also like to say that when I sent you these references, it's not about drawing a perfect circle, and it's not going to be about drawing this bird.
Okay.
I am going to do a quick idea of that for you to see the future. I'm going to do it on one page, and I suggest the same.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to do a very quick. This is a mechanical pencil. I love mechanical pencils. It's very, very quick. You can barely see it, I know, but that's the thing. You're not pressing hard. There's the sphere. And let's just watch me for a moment, but then let's do it together.
Okay.
This bird is all made up of little geometrical shapes.
Wow.
Okay. So instead of trying to do the whole outline, it doesn't matter, babe, because we're working on value.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to look at what is the most basic shape. So I'm going to say this in the middle. So I'm going to put like hardly touching, very scratchy. And then, oh, the head is sort of like a rounded rectangle. And where is the head? Well, it's a little bit above here. So it's about there. Can you see that?
I can.
Okay. And the head and the throat comes down approximately into the belly. Now, on the left, if I look at where the wing starts, about here, I'm going to come up over the head, and I'm going to have a shape that comes into the circle. About the edge of this right side of the circle, I've got the wings, or sorry, the tail.
Okay.
And then at the bottom, we have the feet, and it's just a little scribble. It's a little scribble. If you want to put like, just a little idea of where the beacon head is, then you've got a bird.
Look at that.
So
That's really different than the way I would have approached it. Like, really.
maybe I would have approached it different way back too, but I've learned this is a very good way of just initially, and it's not natural, Esther, it really isn't. You're trying to just put this together in very basic terms. So if you could maybe do like a page like this,
Right.
and just then we can get started on both. Is that
Do you want me to do that
Yeah,
right now? Okay.
yeah, I think we should. I'll record it. So if at any time you're like, I'd like to stop and do it on my own time, we can do that too.
Okay. I'm just gonna, just a second.
Of course. Oh, sorry. There we go. Hardly touching your paper.
I think I'm using the wrong, I think I'm gonna switch pencils here. I'm using quite a hard.
What weight are you using?
I'm using a 2B.
That's good.
Is it okay? Maybe my hand is very heavy.
Yeah, just hardly touch the paper. I mean,
Okay.
but you can, Esther, you can totally choose to go down to an HB. I just wouldn't go down lower because um, it dents the paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looks like there.
Let's see, I can put this sort of backwards, but I can put them both on there if you want. Sort of
Okay.
like boop, boop, boop.
You know, another thing I don't know, like just even, all this needing to get back to basics is I don't even know what all the pencils are used for.
Oh,
Like, why are there so many different?
I can tell you. Sure.
Okay,
We'll get those out. You have a set?
I do.
Okay, cool. Let's talk about it.
Okay. No, um, just talking away to myself here.
Oh, talk away, babe. All good with me. Do you have siblings?
I have one brother, and we are estranged.
I'm asking that because I only from my personal experience know that single children talk to themselves a lot.
Uh, well, yeah.
I mean, I do in my head, but I've heard, you know, verbally, and I think it's the same thing. I don't know if that's the whole thing, but it's just my experience.
I think it's just that I have a constant voice in my head and then it comes out.
Well, I did look it up because I lived with a child who is an only child and he talked to himself a lot. And I had to look it up just out of, is he okay? And apparently it means you're very smart
Oh,
because you're working out situations in your head or even out loud. It doesn't matter.
yeah, I do that.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
It's better than not.
That's true, I guess. Sometimes I find myself very tiring though. It's like, oh,
I think that would happen anyway, Esther.
this is where art is good because it quiets me sometimes.
True. Yes.
Good. So you're on your way now? Gonna be gone for a long time? Okay. Did your soccer teams win?
Yep.
That's a good day then. Oh, um, something wrong with the head here, the angle.
Well, we'll get there.
Okay,
We'll get there as long as it's there on the page.
it
Okay.
is.
Perfect. Let's start with the sphere.
Okay.
And yet let's start with value and pencils and charcoal. So we're just on the side here.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, let's do the dark side. So the left. Okay. So we're going to say that the sun is here.
Okay.
That's the light. And let's start with graphite. So I don't have a set anymore. And I'm going to tell you, Esther, this is why I don't have a set, is because you get a whole set so that you can figure out what you like. And then now, after this set that you have, and you explore different ones, you will know what to buy individually.
Okay.
You
That
do
makes
not,
sense.
you do not need the whole set anymore. So
No.
I'm just, if you don't mind, let's take some extremes.
Okay.
And I'll show you this first. So
Okay.
how it goes is HB is in the middle, and I have an HB here. So it's HB, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do a very hard line, and I'm gonna do a very soft, hardly touching line.
Okay.
Now I, at my fingertips, only have a 2H, but if
2H.
in your set you have a 6H or an 8H, then please take that.
Do you know what I have? I have all the B's. So I've basically got 8B, 4B, 6B, 7B, 2B, and HB.
And you don't have any H's.
No,
Okay, that's fine. I'll just show you. Okay, so
isn't that?
this is 2H,
Okay.
and it's very scratchy. Okay.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna do a hard mark for you.
Okay.
And it's something that you feel, you really have to feel, but you can see it. The 2H is not as dark.
No, not.
Okay. So what happens when they take graphite, they cook it. It's baked. It's basically like making charcoal firewood, right? And the longer you, well, okay, no, there's also something else. They've also put clay. So on the H, which I say equals hard, and that's just one of those ways to remember something, they put more clay
Oh, okay.
inside of the graphite, and it's cooked less. And then what you can do is you can take like your 6 or 8B. So I'm going to do 6B, and you're going to feel the difference. It's so much darker, even if you slightly touch.
Yeah, look at that.
Now, if you smudge, you'll see that the 2H doesn't smudge as much.
Right.
And so the 6B is more graphite. It has more graphite in it than clay. So, depending on what you're doing, this is all personal choice. If you are sketching in something for watercolor, usually people use HB or 2B because it's a lighter line. It doesn't smudge as much. But an H will create a hard line in the paper. So the H's tend to be more for people who want lighter values, who want to sketch something very, very, what they call high key value. And let me actually bring something up for you. I have visuals. One second. High key. That's oh, 1 second, darling. Oh. Here we go. Okay. So if H equals hard, and again, that's my, are you getting an echo?
No.
Okay, fantastic. I don't think this worked. Why didn't that work? Oh no. Oh. Screen. Sorry, babe. This has nothing to do with you. Why is that? I just used it this morning. It's crazy. Um, do you see two spheres by chance?
Two spheres?
Two spheres, or do you see me?
I see one sphere with the sun up.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But
Huh.
I also see you.
Okay. That is so weird. Why is that happening? Okay, never mind. I just don't have this visually. I'll send it as a follow-up, but basically, my love, okay, is that what we call high key. Just think about highlights, okay?
Okay.
So highlights are not just white, but they're also very light things. So we're going to call this high key. And low key is all this stuff in the dark, and it's not just black, it's all of the variables in between. Okay. And so people who want to use H pencils would tend to work in the high key of things, because even if you press hard, you're not getting anything near what a soft graphite and a B. And B, sometimes I say bold. So B is bold and H is hard. H is hard and light, but it's also scratchy. And bold is soft and smudgy.
Okay.
Okay. And it really is about the feel. So the look is one thing, but it's the feel is another. Now that's graphite. If you have any questions, let me know, because I'd like to go into charcoal now.
No, it's just interesting because I took a drawing class, and the man who taught it, I took it before Christmas. He wanted us to use only 6B pencils.
Right, because he likes bold. Now, here's the thing, Esther, is you can use a 6B in a very light way by not pressing.
Right.
But it's still softer and it will still smudge very
Yeah, and what
much.
he did, like rather than the cross hatching,
Yeah.
for shading, basically it was smudging.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to get right into that with charcoal. Now,
Okay.
this is a technique that is it okay? This is a technique, but we're using charcoal as for a reason, and it's because it's quick and efficient. Okay.
Hmm.
So here we go. I'm just gonna actually bring this up a bit. I think you should watch me first.
I'm gonna watch you.
Okay. So we've got this, this seems like clay, like the photo I sent you. It has like imperfections and some really nice texture. So there's two things that can happen here. There's coming in, so I'm going to use my pencil. This is my charcoal pencil. It's a 6B. It's very similar to, charcoal is very similar to graphite. Anything that's in the B range is going to be softer and bolder and darker. And you can't actually get charcoal in an H range. So it would probably, the hardest would be a 2B. And if you use a 2B charcoal compared to a 6B charcoal, you will feel that the 2B is scratchier and not as dark, not as black, because it's not as soft. So I'm going to do this in a way that is very different than probably what you've learned. I want to do the dark areas as a whole and efficiently. Hold on, I need to erase this and move this over. So if you wouldn't mind writing this down in your sketchbook, it doesn't matter if you're drawing or painting. There is a rule that is so important, is to start with the general and go to the specific.
Okay.
In that, we're going to start with the general shapes and we will go to the details and the refining of the values later. Start with the general and go to the specific. This should be on a Post-it note on your wall.
Okay.
Basically, I can then take my pencil and I can look at this whole shape, this whole shape, and this shape all at once without being too worried about it, especially with this medium. Acrylic's going to be very different, Esther, but let me just say, so I'm looking at coming in with the charcoal here, and it's sort of, okay, so it's concentrated here, and then it comes out here. There's reflected light under here, so I'm going to what's called foiling, is to then come on the outside. It's going to feel weird because you're meeting this, and it's going to feel like one shape. And how you make your marks is very important as you go along. Not right now so much, but how I'm doing this, like to the side, you can do that in so many ways. You can do that in cross hatching or stippling or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not talking about those kinds of techniques. We're just focused on value. Now I'm going to also foil, which is the background. Foiling is always consider it a halo. It's your spirit halo. It's your aura. Okay.
Okay.
So you're coming in and you're not worrying about meeting this. That's fine.
Right.
So I'm lightening up on my pressure here. And I want this to be dark and dramatic.
Yeah.
Now I had suggested to get a brush small and large. So this is my small and this is my large.
Okay.
Okay. This can also be your large.
Okay. Well.
Okay. So I'm going to take all this wonderful charcoal dust, which is why I suggested this medium. So this isn't about, you know, acrylics or anything like that. We can talk about that. That's fine. But just for now, you're going to take all that wonderful charcoal dust and you're going to move it in places that it supports you making a gradient.
Look at that. Holy, that's like magic.
It is. It is. Oh, I love
Wow.
that you see it like that. Oh my God, it is so magic. Now, you can't have excess dust, so you just want to move it away, okay?
Okay.
If you need to have a rag, just move it away. Now you have white and black.
Mm-hmm.
This is where those erasers come in because now we're looking. So we did the dark. So what now, when you create something, you have to ask yourself, what is the most prominent value? Because if it's a very light piece that you're creating from your mind and conceptual or from a reference, then you wouldn't start with this. But generally things have, an equivalent value of like both dark and light. So if that's the case, I would suggest to start with the darks, especially on a white piece of paper, because the white is your base. And now you need to establish your darks. So if you had like a gradient scale, which is dark, and then you have to use that same tool to get lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the white's your white, the paper's your white. I'm going to take this kneadable eraser and I'm going to come in where I see the white. So now I'm coming in here on this is the foiling on the back. And you can be expressive. Like if you want to do it all smooth and stuff, Esther, you can, but
Sure.
you can also be, kind of fun with that. And that's where the smaller brush comes in if you want to smooth some stuff out. And I am shaking my table, okay? Like this is a piece of paper and it's tough. So I'm really getting in there. And then I'm coming in and I want like a nice edge there on the sphere. Oh, I went a little too over. That's okay. Just come in and adjust it. Always blow down. I know you might not be using charcoal so much, but I think you'll love it.
Mm-hmm.
You can also mix media this stuff up real well and start with this and then bring in acrylics and watercolors. It's like really nice.
Really? Wow.
And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to clean up any of the really bright highlights over here. Oh, I kind of messed up a little bit. I'll just take my brush and use the dust and clean up that edge. So I don't really have to bring my pencil back out. Okay, if the kneadable is not working so well because it's a gentle eraser, then you use your white and you bring it back into here. You can, depending on your paper, you can probably pull back right to white. I will tell you, this is my favorite sketchbook in the world.
Oh, look at this. Oh, wow. Robert Bateman. Let me just see here.
Oh my God, girl. It is not, it's called a sketchbook. It is drawing paper. And the difference between sketchbook paper and drawing paper is the weight. And so this is 110 pounds, which is a very good weight. And if you look at your sketchbook paper, it's probably going to say something like 65 pounds, which is fine. But if you really, really want a nice paper that can handle a lot of abuse, It's something to ask for.
Hey, yeah, I'll look into that.
It's not easy to find. It's somehow not so popular. So I'm going to use my kneadable eraser and I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to use my nails and I'm going to make it really chunky and funky. And then I'm going to start to pull in between the light and the dark, having fun with some cross hatching or whatnot. Less is more. I seriously think that sometimes we overwork. Just getting, and you can even dab, you can dab for some stipples. But now, is that feeling 3D?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so the next step into this feeling 3D is to coming into the refracted light or reflected light, which is the light from the table up here. So now I will not stress about it. I will take my kneadable eraser and I will make that space. I will also come in with my brush and tone it down because it's too white. So sometimes you have to give the space for the light, but then you need to realize and look that the light. Okay, here's a tongue twister for you. Did I say this? I might have said this last week, but the light in the dark is never as light as the light in the light.
You did say that.
Yeah. And that's where this applies. So the light in the dark cannot be as light as the light in the light. So this being reflected light from the table here has to be darker than this. So I'm going to continuously push, and this can be however you medium, Esther, it can be you mixing paint or whatever. I wanted to do this with charcoal because it's a lot easier. When you get into painting, it's harder. And, I'm happy to help you with that as you go and ask. But it really is an amazing thing that when you tickle the paper and you move this dust around, you can change the value so incredibly subtly. That's actually still too light. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to say to myself, you know what? I have to make sure it's darker or else it's not going to feel right. So every time I think I've got it, I look again and I adjust. Is it dark enough? What are the shapes? What are the shapes here? This is the refracted light.
Right.
This is a gradient shadow. And this is the highlight. And this is the shadow. This is, whatever blah,
The
blah,
halo,
blah, background. Right. But like just looking at those shapes. And so now, is this the right shape? Does this area need to come over more? Instead of using a pencil, I can just literally dip into all this dark stuff and move this powder. Now, is this brighter? Is this brighter than this? Yes. So when I'm done, when I think I'm close, I'm going to come in with an eraser and I'm going to really sharpen up that edge. So that this, even though that's light, is just slightly darker than whatever I can get out of that.
I
Pulling,
think that's amazing.
pulling back on the paper.
Again, the word magic comes to mind.
I think it is too. I really do. I've been doing this is my favorite medium, which is why I suggested it, but it's also because it works. Like
Mhm.
it's very effective. And then, just to train your eye, Esther, is important because paint is its own problem.
Mhm.
Like, well, it poses its own problems. So I'd rather you just train your eye if you want my opinion. Like just train your eye to value because then you can worry about the problems that the medium poses.
I agree. I mean, I'm aware that value is the most important thing.
It is
Yeah.
when it comes to, principles and elements. Yeah. Um,
Wow.
okay. Do you want, because this is recorded and I will give you the recording.
I would love that because then I'll do it on my own.
Do you want me to just do the bird?
I'd love you if you wouldn't mind. And then
Love you too.
I'll send them to you. That can be my homework.
Yeah. Okay, I just need a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I just need, I just need to get some water and go to the bathroom. Just, okay. Okay. I'm gonna redraw my bird because my page space. I never really care about having to redraw something. I just consider it another opportunity. Okay.
That's good. That's good to know. Mhm.
Yeah, if you drew it the first time, you can do it the second,
Mhm.
and the third and the 300th. Okay. So I gave you a beginning for what's a really good way to play. It's a placement. So if you say, "This is the space I have. This is the biggest shape." So when we say the general to the specific, we're also talking about big to small. Okay.
Okay.
So when you're trying to place a bird on the page, you want to look at the biggest shape and then the biggest shape around it, which is often called the negative space, which is all of this.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter if you're working on a postcard or a big, huge mural, you're looking at the biggest shape. So I'm just going to put in that round in a different space here. I'm going to come out and say, this is the head. So I'm one continuous line. Here's the wings. Here's the tail. And then here's the feet usually what I say at this stage, Esther, is if it looks like a demented bird, that's fine. because we're just focused on value, right?
Right.
So don't worry about the proportions. That's a different thing.
Yes.
I'm happy to talk about that. I'm really good at relative proportion. I'm I'm an advocate for it, which basically means you're not tracing, you're not doing a grid system, you're doing something that feels more from life. It will help you a lot with what you have in your head and you don't have a reference for.
Mm.
But anyway, so what I'm
It
gonna
sounds a lot more sort of organic or intuitive than,
mhm,
I mean, I've tended with animals to start measuring.
right.
Get out the ruler and start measuring. But it's a lack of experience too, you know.
No, no, no. It's a desire to get it right. And I
It
do think
is.
that's a societal pressure of, general
Yeah.
things. But take it from me, because I have drawn hundreds of animals
Mm.
and and like online classes, and I've drawn this bird that I'm doing with you at least 6 times. So I'd say doing something more than once is a really good thing. Like,
Mhm.
don't just go, oh, I did that and that's done. Like, do it again and again and again.
Okay.
It should be a reference you like, though, because if you do it and you hate it, then get rid of it.
Okay.
Don't force yourself into that nastiness. But I will say that after many years of trying to get proportions right, I have trained my eye-hand coordination, which is a muscle,
Mhm.
and it is something that you do develop over time. And it doesn't feel like you're doing anything. And then all of a sudden, aha.
Hmm.
And this comes very much with, because I know you're doing life drawing. When you're doing life drawing and you're doing just making sure, can you see me?
I can, yes.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't spotlight on the table. So when you're doing a life model and you have your pastel or your willow charcoal or whatever, and you're doing a blind contour and they look like crazy,
Yeah.
that's the best thing ever. And, just like your shoe stepping into the new year, I will remember that. And I hope you do too. The thing is, it's not about the result. It's about your hand working with your eye so that when you see something, your brain isn't going, well, I know what an eye looks like. And then it ends up being like rudimentary and novice looking. And you get
Mhm.
mad at yourself because you're like, that's like what a teenager does. But that's because the teenager is saying, I know what an eye looks like. But you're not looking at the eye. You're listening to your brain.
I get that.
Your,
Sorry, I'm coughing. I have no idea why.
your brain is an asshole. There's a wonderful book, Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, and there's other books too, right? The Natural Nicolaides. I will send you a couple of books because they're very
Okay.
good. Nicolaides, The Natural Way of Drawing. I know it's been a while since I've looked. Sorry, it's on my bookshelf, but there's some really good books that talk about how psychologically our brains are jerks and say, well, I know what a person looks like. I know what a head looks like. I know what a body looks like, eye, whatever. It goes the same with birds and trees. And then when we try to say, well, I don't know, and I have to look at this reference, then things get really bad because your brain is trying to fight what you're seeing. It's
That's true,
always
Charlene.
trying to say, but I know, why are you looking at that? So you're looking at this thing and you want to do what you're seeing, but your brain is actually in control of your hand. So
Yes.
all the exercises you do right now that
Yes.
are whatever modules you're doing right now, Esther, are amazing.
They are.
I'm
Oh
getting
my gosh.
shivers looking at your work daily.
Yes.
I can't always reply. I'm freaking
No, but I understand.
impressed.
I'm finding it to be amazing. It's like opening anyway, you know.
Fantastic. Cut up
Yeah,
your art, cut it up,
I love it.
throw it out, burn it, rip it up. The thing is like it should be right now not about quality, it should be quantity.
Yeah,
You'll get to the quality stage, but right
right.
now it's quantity. So
You
every
know,
day,
that's what the teacher said. The teacher
okay,
said, if I walked into your studio and I saw all kinds of paintings, drawings that you do not, you're not attached to them, that you're
yes,
not entirely happy with the way they turned out. That she didn't quite put it that way, but she said, I would be so happy.
yes.
That's exactly what I want to see. Is just you're playing, you're trying different things, you're opening up, you're doing the exercises that I'm recommending, you're doing the process, you're figuring out your own process. Yeah.
And you're moving forward. You're not
Yes.
stuck on what you did yesterday.
No.
Uh, I am moving, as I told you, and I have two huge bins of
Mhm.
life drawings that I did 25 years ago. I'm throwing them out.
Mhm.
I've kept on to them. I've held on to them, Esther. It's pointless. I
Yeah.
like certain lines and I might keep some, but
Yeah.
it's one thing to like your lines, but it's another thing to be it's almost like sandpaper. Like you can't move forward because you're just like, well, but I like
Well,
that.
you know what keeps coming to my mind is freedom. Oh, freedom. Like, I love the way you just did this. It's so like there, there's knowledge, of course, but it's
Yeah.
very free the way you're doing it. And that's where I want to be. I want to be free.
I know from experience that those who I meet who are trying so hard to be articulate. Now, mind you, I do appreciate that everybody has their own way.
Yes.
And if that's what someone needs or if that's natural, then fine. But I
Mhm.
will tell you that I have done both animals, just as an example, very specific, very calculated, with much intent, and they all look like taxidermied animals. And as soon as I come in with a different mindset of, you know what, I'm going to send you an artist. I'm going to send you, oh, what's her name? I'm going to just say the bee lady. Okay. Um, are you on Instagram?
I am kind of. I mean, I'm not very like I don't the only social media that I know much about is Facebook, and I want to actually get off Facebook for a whole bunch of reasons.
Not going to talk about that right now, but
No, let's not talk about
I
that.
understand. But if I send you an account on Instagram, you have an account, you can go and see her, right?
Yeah, I could.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to send you this lady's work and you're going to
Okay.
see that it's very what we call gestural. So I'm
Yeah.
going to go back to this and talk
Okay.
of what is a gesture, okay? You've been probably doing this with your life drawing, okay?
I've been practicing on Dan. Yes.
Yeah, a gesture is
Okay.
about mass.
Yes.
A contour is the outline of things, but a gesture is when you come in and I'm looking at the heaviest weight. Now, in this case, with this bird, I'm looking at the heaviest value. And I'm
Hmm.
not concerned about form right now. I'm concerned about where I see heaviness. If this bird was to land, whether it's in, the color of, because it's a robin, whether it's in the color of the bird or it's in the weight of the bird, you can think about how like a gesture is about like an armature. So I'm constantly looking for weight. Okay. This is a gesture. It's a very movement, like there's a lot of movement. There's no detail, but I'll put in the eye just so you can kind of get a sense of where I'm going. I don't care if this looks like a weird bird. I don't give a shit. Now, that's a gesture. So like a
Okay.
contour is the outline, but a gesture is something where you should be able to feel that it's moving.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love
now,
it.
now
Again, more magic.
I'm going to just go all over it with a brush.
Right.
And then I'm going to start pulling out the highlights with an eraser, and you can choose whatever eraser works for you. It can be a white one. By the way, I cut, like I take, where's my, here. So this is like an eraser, bit from like the whole white eraser. Well, I take triangles from it because then this stays clean over there. And then this gets dirty and I have all these points.
Good idea.
So what I'll do is I'll come in. So now I have the darks and the midtones because I smudged. And now all I have to do is come in and do the lights. And the more that I feel like I'm the bird in flight, the more realistic it will feel. Okay, so looking at the length of the stroke with the feathers here. There's a little bit there. And a little bit here. And then you can start refining proportion. If you actually start very loose like this and then refine, it's a more, to me, joyous experience rather than starting all stiff and trying to then get some life out of things. Now I'm going to knock it back again. And this is now saying that whatever I erased is not white. So I still don't have any whites. But I will take my pencil now at this point and start to go, I'd really like to take some care.
Right.
Yeah, like I do care, right? So I'm going to come in and I'm going to start to say, I mean, personally, this is just me, Esther, but I don't want to get too detailed. So I'm going to come in and be a little looser, but I'm still looking at a little more detail now. Oh, here's these feathers. I forgot about those. It's amazing what you'll forget about. Oh my God. And those can't be white, right?
Right.
So I'm going to knock them back. And then instead of white, I'm going to put in some dark. And it can't be completely black because this is the blackest. So if this is the blackest, then this is just a little tickle with maybe some hatches to insinuate. Just a little tickle and use your pencil to make it feel like, oh, I'm in flight. The bird's in flight, but so is my pencil. And I'm kind of maybe not doing a continuous line, but something that feels like there's movement. And who gives a shit if you're off the page? Who cares?
No, true.
No one's going to see this later, right? So all you have to do is say, well, I really do care about that there's these second feather patterns here. I've studied the anatomy of birds, so I really like looking at those types of things instead of it being so perfect. I like looking at the things that maybe no one else does, which would be like the patterning here, right? And then, okay, so again, light touch. You could get very detailed here, though. I mean, I'm not saying that it has to be.
Well, I could see that for that, but anyway, I don't want to get too much into my psychology, but I'm happy to drop the attempt at perfectionism. I just, but it's a go-to, right? It's a go-to. And
Well, and you can rely on it, Esther, but what about something a little bit new?
mhm.
What else could you rely on? I think that's exciting, right? Like,
Yeah, it is.
that you will see, I am getting detailed here. I can come in and I can take this eraser and I can start to get these little
Yeah.
things in here, and I can take out this whole bit and say that's the background. And I'm looking at this being the whitest. So I can come in, and this is again called foiling. Okay. Anything in the background is a foil. And
Okay.
basically all that's it's a silly name, but basically it's like tinfoil that's wrapping something. Like, it's the outside of whatever.
Yes.
Okay. But it's really good when you're, wanting to create value, that if, for example, this isn't seeming dark enough, instead of me trying to press my brush and making it darker, what about making the outside lighter?
Hmm.
That's what foiling is all about. Its value, just like color, is relative. If you only have one yellow, it's a neutral yellow. But if you have two yellows, one will be warm and one will be cool. It's very similar to value. It's relative to what's around it. So as you get to this stage, this is when you can start getting detailed and going like, I don't know if you have this. This is an amazing tool. It's
I
called,
do, but I have no idea what you do with that.
okay, well, I'm not going to tell you traditionally, because traditionally it would be, if you want a teardrop, then it's an erasing shield.
Oh, I see.
So if you want a teardrop, you can get a teardrop.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But how I use it is I will just randomly move it
Mm.
for this amazing abstract texture. And I
I
try
love that.
not to like determine what it's going to be. I just keep moving it. I rarely use it intentionally. I just really like getting
Yeah.
something abstract out of it.
Wow.
And then,
If
yeah,
I did that, Charlene, I would be so proud of myself.
you will do it. And you're going to be
Oh
proud of
my gosh, I would
yourself,
be
and I'm
like,
going to be
oh,
proud of you. And like, do you need to do the feet? No.
no,
If
not
you'd like
really.
to, you can, but if you just give, and so it's like that you can, get into your own psychology of this, but
Yeah.
humans and birds and anything alive, it's all psychosomatic. So as long as you have an indication
Right.
of something, like, you just need to have the idea of it.
Mhm.
And I mean, if it's really out of proportion, then I would exaggerate it. Um, because that's when, if you're trying to make it in proportion and it's just slightly off, that's when people judge.
They do. That
Yeah.
is true.
So if you're going to be trying to get it, it's all about proportion, is all about shape, the shape of a thing. It's all about edges, which is either soft or hard. And it's all about value. And I'm going to show you what shape means, okay? Because shape is also about positive and negative. So this area here in between the belly and the feet, if I didn't get this shape right and it was like that, then it's going to feel weird. I mean, it feels a little bit more like a hummingbird. I guess this has to do with what kind of bird you're drawing, right?
Right.
And if it's a you know, a robin in this case, it has more of a throat with a little movements. And that's kind of what distinguishes, you know, this from that. It's all about the shape. Like if I went and gave it a neck like this, you'd be like, what?
Yeah, true.
Right?
Yes.
So it's really about the positive and the negative spaces. And if you ever go to draw something, Esther, and it's not working out, just erase it. Like just get rid of it. If it's paint,
Okay.
wipe it off. Don't try and struggle with it. Just say, because then your brain is trying to resolve what's wrong and how to change it.
True.
Just get rid of it and start from scratch so that your brain can look at a sort of a blank space and be like,
Mhm.
okay. So depending on how much your paper can take, you can really max out that smudging and then bring something back from 2 to 3 tries into, you know, where you want it to be. This isn't even dark enough, but like, so then that would be your next step, is to think about the direction of the feathers, the value, and then the transitions, bringing that into here. This is both a value and a charcoal session.
Yes.
That you can use your eraser to come in, like if you want middle values, these and
Mhm.
these, just take the charcoal and make it all dark. It's not even black, like it's gray, right?
Right.
And then you take your eraser and you start to make your little hairs, and you only need a couple. And if they end up being too light, then you just take your brush and you soften it out. And if you need more specific detail to satisfy your life, then come in with your pencil. So just like paint, it's a back and forth. It's a back and
Mhm.
forth. I often use like compressed charcoal, which I had suggested, or a black pastel, that if in areas where they're really black and you want that because you want drama mama. I love drama. Try and pretend I don't.
I do too in art, but not in life so much.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna get it in both. That you,
Yeah.
yeah, you can use a compressed charcoal or a black pastel to get it really black if you want. And you know, and again, you'll realize it's not that you're using that everywhere. It's you're just trying to identify the blackest part. And here it's the biggest part, but it's not always that. And yeah, you're just trying to start with your extremes, your light and your dark. And you're always trying to reestablish that. So yeah, I'm going to come in and start to bring out the white again because I've lost that. And the whitest white of this bird is surrounding the feathers. Pardon me. And then take a step back. I mean, this bird looks a little creepy in a way. And then a cool thing you can do is you can always use your eraser and do another gesture sort of around, just to show, I don't know, I'm obsessed with movement, Esther. I want it to feel like the bird is actually in motion. So
Mhm.
like I want motion lines, you know, like almost like the double effect, but that's just me. You don't have to worry about that. But I really, I almost like to have like all the double blurred stuff
Yeah,
so that people don't even know where the wings are.
I love it.
You have to think about it. Um, you know, and then, oh, I'll show you one last thing because we are at 3:30 and I'm so sorry, but I do need to be strict these days. You can take this eraser shield,
Okay.
okay, and you can place it, and it does take a little bit of like wear, and you take a white eraser and you can get a highlight in the eye.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and I got a little bit more, but
Nice.
you can just smudge that out.
Yeah. Wow. So you've recorded this so I can
Yes.
take a look at it, and I think this is my homework.
Yeah, you have a week.
Yeah. So,
Did you want to? Oh, wait, hold on. Can I do next week?
and just while you're doing that, something popped up in my email, which is a documentary about this artist.
Yeah.
What is his name now? Jeremy Mann. And um, he basically says what you say about being painterly.
Mm-hmm.
The brush strokes are so important. And anyway, he really was emphasizing the beauty of the brush strokes.
That's it, babe. The beauty of brushstrokes.
Yeah.
You've probably heard me say, like, especially at Loyalist, right? If you don't want to see brushstrokes, you're using the wrong medium.
Mhm.
Like, you know, I even say, you can achieve smooth with paint, you can achieve smooth with pencil, but a pencil is to create line. And so,
Right.
like, to show the hatching or show the stippling is beautiful.
It is.
Um, Charcoal, I do like smudging, but I'm still showing line with an eraser. I'm actually drawing with an eraser a lot.
Mhm.
I'll also scan this page and I'll send it to you.
Sure. Okay.
Um, but it's the same with, like, I don't care if it's watercolor or acrylic or oil, your tool is usually a brush.
Mhm.
And so just like a poet, your paint is language.
Yeah.
Pardon me. Your paint is like how you're expressing yourself.
Right.
So to try and get it so that it's so smooth, I think is personally is a result of the graphic design age.
It could be, somehow on, yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm not trying to do that. I think it's just that I'm inexperienced and you know, I'm doing the other thing that you talked about, which is just trying so hard to make it look like something. You know what I mean? Like, but not everything I've done. I mean, if you came to my house and you saw some of my own
Mhm.
paintings, you would see also loose and free paintings. But yeah, I want to be more there generally than I am.
Esther, every subject demands its own thing.
It's true.
What I've seen with the orange and apple situation, was that the dried stuff that I gave you?
Yes, it was.
Love it. Um, that's probably my favorite thing that I've seen you do outside of
Yeah.
the impressionist class. The trees at the Cove. Listen, I am a master of trees. It's my thing, but
Yeah.
that to me it's going to take a long time because of the stroke and the naturalness, and
Right.
that does it took a long time for me too.
Yeah.
Um, I already see you as someone who's expressive. I see you as someone who's embracing the medium. I love that you're experimenting. At some point, I hope that something sticks and you're like, I'd like to explore this to a point where I feel very comfortable with it.
Oh yeah, that's where I'm, I think, yeah, I'm not there, but I completely agree with you,
Yeah.
Charlene. It's like I'm on a search, right?
Yeah. And I think that's fun and it should be. And there's no timeline. Like, there's no,
Right.
you should by this point have decided. Fuck that. Um, I will say that every subject pro proposes like a different challenge. And so my opinion would be to pick a subject
Hmm.
or a theme and then try different mediums. So that's the variations, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, and I don't know if I'll find, actually, I will ask my friend what her name is because she's an amazing artist. It's just been so long since this was discussed. I mean, it's like 15 years ago.
Right.
there's this wonderful artist who just did portraiture, self-portraiture, her own.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that was her focus. And she did one every week or every day or whatever in a different medium. And it was phenomenal.
I bet it was.
But it's the same subject.
Right.
So instead of like, you know, birds to landscapes to still life to portraits, like
Right.
that's its own big thing.
Yes.
But if you're just exploring medium and you say, I'm going to draw this brush every day, and one day is going to be graphite, one day is going to be charcoal, one day is going to be a colored pencil, one day is going to be oil pastel, one day is going to be soft pastel, the next will be acrylic, and then the next will be drawing and painting because I'm freaking sick of it by now. I don't want to paint this brush anymore, but I'm gonna keep going. And then I'm going to do it with some tea bags and some coffee,
Right.
right? And then I'm going to do it with some jam and peanut butter. Like it's the medium that I think is a lot easier because you're not trying to master it. You're like
Yes.
looking at a subject, trying to recreate it in a different way every time with a different medium. That's the challenge.
Yes, yes. I hear you. I think I'm open to that actually. Yeah.
Well, if you want a real big challenge, I used to draw little aliens back in the day, and I always did them with mittens. Like
Right.
it was like a hand that, didn't have fingers. And my friend who's a comic book artist and like mind-blowingly talented, but a total prick. Yeah, it's so interesting how that happens. Sometimes
Yeah, yeah.
you're
Yeah.
really good, but you're a jerk.
Yeah. I've
Um,
encountered that too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And that's sometimes why I'm like, I'm not really striving to be like amazing because I kind of like being nice.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I actually do think it falls hand in hand. Um, so anyway, he said to me, he goes, your hands for your little aliens are lacking. And I was like, yeah, well, I can't draw hands. And he said, well, because you're not drawing hands.
Right.
So he suggested that I do a project, one hand every day for 2 weeks in different mediums. So I drew my own hand, and I'll send this to you. I'll just right after our class, I'll get right on and I'll send you a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
B lady, I'll ask B Smith about the portraits because I really want to know her name as well. It's been so long. But then the hands. So I did my own hands in different poses. So like one, I'm holding scissors and it looks so like threatening.
Right. Yes.
Like whatever, you could hold something in your hand like an egg, or or you could do the same pose, whatever, but it's the same subject. And I did that in pencil, in hatching, in Renaissance technique, in
Mm.
Conte, and charcoal, and then eventually you get so bored. But that's when the good stuff happens.
Really?
It is, yeah.
Because, the little, like I made a little still life out of the package that you gave us.
Mhm.
And I chose just certain things out of it. But after a while, I did hit that point where I was like bored.
Oh, that's it though. Keep going.
Oh,
Keep going. Push
okay.
yourself through it. There's I'm not going to send you this. You can look for it. Um what's his name? There's a lot of research about the best thing for an artist is to be bored.
Okay.
There's something amazing about that because if you're always overstimulated, you're not getting deep enough. So when they call it navel gazing, so when you're just staring at your belly button and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the same thing. This is a challenge I chose. Oh my God, I hate myself. All of that kind of puts you in a situation where you're trying to break out of it in a different way. But if you just walk away and say, I'm bored, I'm not doing it again, then you lose that opportunity. So
Okay.
as soon as you're like, oh my God, that's actually when you're going to go into creating it, and the breaking through is going to happen while you're creating it instead of just like giving up.
Hmm. Well, that's intriguing. Very intriguing.
It's Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman. He's a writer. And there's other people, though, if you look up creativity and being bored.
Okay.
Okay, that there it's a whole research thing, Esther. Like it really is. There's something about it deeper than I can even explain.
Wow,
I have to
I
attest to that, that I've drawn
wow.
leaves and trees and stuff like so much that it's like, now I wanted to say about your tree. I love the value. I love the colors. I'm not asking you to do the tree so many times to get bored, but if you just would do a little bit of a different brush stroke, something
Okay.
more intentional.
All right.
I love that you're using the brush, what it can do. Show
Okay.
me one more variation.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another homework piece. So I
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be a tree. I did appreciate that you created like a conceptual piece, and I love that. You can
I
just do
mean, it was a cute little thing, right?
it's
But
cute. And please always be you and cute. You are.
right.
And that is like what I want from you. You can do it on the same page. It just
Okay.
could be off to the left, where
Okay.
just show me a maybe the same brush, something else it can do. How
Okay.
can you see clumps of leaves in a different way? Are you in my Facebook group on?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Right now, I'm going to post what I did in the oil painting class. I'm going to show you. So these are flowers on the ground, okay?
Okay. Oh, look at that. Yeah.
So that's a very specific stroke.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like lyrical, or it could be tribal or whatever. And that's me, it's not you. But just to explore, like, how can you show, I'm turning it on its side now.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I
how
get
can
it though.
you show it in various different ways so that you can end up playing with something that really excites you?
Yes.
And I can
Okay.
do next Saturday if you can.
Next Saturday I cannot.
Okay.
We are going to the ballet
In Toronto or out?
at the NAC in Ottawa.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, you lucky duck.
I know. It's true. In some ways I'm lucky. Yes, definitely. And
No,
I'm
that's
grateful for that.
fabulous. Fabulous. So unfortunately, I can't do the week after. I'll be in Belleville.
Hmm.
But we can always, doesn't have to be Saturday.
No, it doesn't.
So perhaps after the ballet.
Probably we'll be like going for dinner and stuff.
No, no, no. So sorry. I don't mean like that day. Um,
Okay, good.
I just meant like, uh, Wednesday, the 5th.
Wednesday?
Yeah.
Just a sec here. I just have to look here. Mm-mm.
Tuesday, the 4th, or Wednesday, the 5th.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. No wonder. Okay,
And
Wednesday the 5th is perfect.
perfect. Okay.
Yeah, at 2 o'clock, same time.
Or, well, doesn't matter. I'm open. 10? Do you want to do 10? Are you a
10
morning?
is good.
Are you a morning person, Esther?
No, I'm not, but
Then 2 o'clock is fine. Or like, how about 1?
1 is good.
Cool.
But you know what? Like,
No, that's perfect. So
okay,
think about what you'd like to do next. Please just let it sit on your mind, and you can
okay,
text me, and then I will prepare for it, and we'll talk about materials and what you've given me, what you wanted overall.
yeah,
I think
okay,
I think this might be something that you should just do. I'll send you the recording. Just do it, and
okay,
then think about where that leads you.
okay,
Okay, because there's no rush on deciding the next project.
okay, perfect.
Okay, love it. Well, enjoy the ballet,
Yeah,
and
thank
well, I'll be
you.
in touch in the meantime.
Okay.
All right.
In the meantime, best wishes with the packing and all that.
And it's a sick thing, but I love packing because it's
Yeah.
an organizing situation and I'm really good at it. But I'm hoping to not have to do it for another 7 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I get that.
Yes.
Well, you take care, Charlena.
You too. Enjoy. Have fun.
All right.
Ask me if I can help. Okay, just find me.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye for now.